Hi all, Raidwald here. I know it's been a long time since I've published a new video, and I can assure you guys that I am working on a rather large project. It's kind of gotten out of hand. I'm going to be releasing that one in small chunks as it gets finished. But in the meantime, I figured I would go ahead and just throw something out that's going to be quick and easy. And in the future, I'll try to approach these larger projects in a way that'll allow me to stagger the releases a little better. So what I wanted to talk about today is the sacrosanct right to discriminate. A lot of people in this society today think that discrimination in and of itself is a violation of some sort, a way of harming somebody else. And it may be that if the other person allows that to be harm towards them. And it's also the case when you're talking about discrimination in the public sphere, right? In the public sphere, there's very real power wielded that can have tremendous effects on a person's life. When you're talking about double standards of ethics and justice, discrimination becomes a dangerous and terrible thing, right? We saw this in slavery and in the Jim Crow laws, right? You had a few group of people who were shoved to the outside and not allowed influence in the public sphere. But as we already talked about, the public sphere is where you go to control the lives of others violently, if need be. Which resulted, not surprisingly, in that shunned group losing any ability not only to seek redress for the wrongs that they were receiving at the hands of the others, but also to a situation where there was no tit for tat, right? Blacks were being targeted by whites, and whites didn't care what they did to blacks, largely because blacks couldn't do anything back, and it was well understood. So yes, discrimination in the public sphere is corrosive to society, it's dangerous, it's ugly, but discrimination itself, in and of itself, in the private sphere specifically, in the normal day-to-day interactions between two people who understand that they're both living by the same set of rules, and not appealing to any third party who does not live by the same set of rules, that's a normal and healthy thing, and it's furthermore, I would claim, a natural right that each of us has that is absolutely sacrosanct and cannot be and should not be violated or sacrificed for any reason. That cuts against the grain, and I know it, right? We look at cases of, bakers who don't want to bake cakes for homosexual weddings, right? That's discrimination against homosexuals, and a lot of people want to attack the baker for that. What they're failing to recognize is that that baker works for every single cake they produce. Now, it's their business whether or not they want to take on any particular job. It's their labor. As soon as you decide that you are more entitled to their labor or the results of it than they are, then you have accepted one of the essential principles of slavery, that you have a more just claim on their labor than they have on their own. They are no longer allowed to choose whether or not to work to provide a cake for you. You demand it, and you claim it an injustice if they deny it. And as we understand, when somebody has committed an injustice against you, it justifies a response from you, some sort of retaliation from you, right? That's what we mean when we're talking about an injustice. Something that is justified aggression. And I would say that there are cases in which justice is a legitimate thing, right? If somebody is personally trying to kill you right now, they have justified you killing them. And it's There's nothing wrong with that. But when you misuse these terms, when you abuse them, when you point them in the wrong directions, when you call discrimination of that sort an injustice, my simply choosing not to work for you, or my choosing not to give you my money, or my time, or anything like that, then in reality, the injustice is towards me, not towards those I have discriminated against. So, let me try to personalize this. There are people in my hometown that would not let me into their house because they don't know who I am. They do let other people in their house. That is an act of discrimination. They are discriminating against me on the basis of their foreknowledge of me in deciding whether or not to allow me in their house. They've discriminated. Should they be punished? Is this an injustice towards me? I have always found the combination of blue eyes and dark hair very attractive. Always have. When I looked for a spouse, those two characteristics, not surprisingly, actually factored into who I chose to date and who I chose to consider for a spouse. I discriminated on the basis of my own preferences. In fact, when you get right down to it, the homosexuals are discriminating too, right? Because they're discriminating on the basis of sex for the people they're choosing to marry. Same as I did. Is it not their right to discriminate on the basis of sex? Isn't that exactly what was being fought for? And so when homosexuals then turn around and say that they're being discriminated against on the basis of their sexual orientation, it may be accurate, and it is in that particular case. That person does not want to serve them because of their sexual orientation, or more correctly, because, as I understand it, in those cases, it's not that the stores were not servicing homosexuals, it's that they didn't want to participate in any way in a homosexual wedding. They were simply choosing not to participate in that event, right? And I'm sure it's based on the fact that on who was marrying whom, right? That was the entire point of the discrimination. But the point is, none of us have the right to step in there and tell them who they must work for. That if they do not work for a particular person at a particular time, that they can be fined, jailed, or killed for choosing that course of action. That is injustice. It is wrong, and we need to recognize which group is aggressing against which. That's really all I had to say on the topic. I look forward to seeing your comments below, and I will see you all later.